hear me now? You're on mute. You're on mute. Can you hear me now? I think a little louder, a little louder. Okay. Uh-huh. I've got peace like a river.
Peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a fountain. I've got peace like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got pain like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul.
Okay. Okay.
Lots of energy this morning. Good morning. I'm Becky Bogert, a new member of the Board of Trustees, and I'm looking forward to serving you. This morning, we especially want to extend a warm welcome to our visitors both on campus and over live stream, and invite our visitors to participate in any of our events, find out more about us, and about Unitarian Universalism. We invite you to consider registering on our virtual guest book, which you can find via link on the top of the homepage of our website at uusrq.org, and it's marked Welcome Visitors. If you're in person, there's a sign-up sheet for visitors in the courtyard, and as always, we invite you to join us for coffee and conversation after the service. If you do sign up, you will for sure receive a newsletter weekly from us and Zoom links to our virtual events. We look forward to getting to know you, and I hope to see you in the courtyard after the service. We do have one special announcement today. The Rainbow Alliance will be having a potluck gathering after the service in the Reeb Room. Everyone is welcome. Today is Share the Plate Day, and today the Share the Plate is for an organization that's very important in our community called Emerge. I'm going to read their mission statement for you so you understand all of what they do for people in our community. Our mission is to foster connections, create opportunities, and engage young Black, Indigenous people of color, professionals, and creatives who have a passion for their community and careers. What they do is they work with young professionals in the arts and culture, health and wellness, and professional development. Thank you.
So I'm Reverend J. Wolin, the settled minister here at the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota. And I want to invite you, today we're going to be having a flower communion. I invite you, even if you are visiting for the first time today, whether you brought a flower or not, as you leave the sanctuary at the end of the service, at the back door, you will be greeted by our youth and volunteers who will offer you a flower. When receiving it, I invite you to notice its particular shape and uniqueness and recognize that it represents a gift from someone else in the room. Let the differences in all these beautiful flowers be a symbol that each of us is unique and beautiful in our own way. And let us be open to seeing that in ourselves and in others. The uniqueness and diversity of the flowers are also a symbol of hope. It is in that symbol of hope that I consecrate these flowers you have brought today with words adapted from the Reverend Dr. Norman Capek, who in the very first flower communion in 1923, over 100 years ago. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask your blessing on these messengers of friendship and love. May they remind us, amid our diversity of experience, knowledge, and gifts, that we are all one, and we should be devoted to our lives together, and that what we do is holy and beautiful. May they also remind us of the value of community, of doing and sharing with one another. May we cherish friendship as a most precious gift. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship. But may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed. May we be strengthened by the knowledge that one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us. And may we continue to work together, season after season, towards a more joyous and peaceful life for all. Amen. So as we light the chalice now, I invite Titan to come up and light the chalice. Please join me in affirming our sixth principle, which will be up on the screen. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Good job.
Hi, I'm Miriam Snyder, and I'll be reading today's story, which is Run Wild by David Koval. Hey, you, sky blue, forget your shoes. Open that door and sprout, you're out. Chase the wind. Can you grab it? Rabbit, rabbit, go ahead. Crunch, crack, twig snap. Squeaky clean? Who cares about that? Squish and squirm, fiddlehead fern, meet a beetle, talk to worms. Run, run, wild, wild. All day long, the sun's gonna smile. Are you brave? Come on, explore. Grr, grr, grizzly roar. Faster feet onto the shore. Hot, hot, burning sand. Ah, cool. Hello, clam. Take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Be a fish in the sea. Now, up for air, just float there. Waves rolling, daydreams flowing. What's next, you wonder? Crash, boom, thunder, run, run, wild, wild. Some days the sun won't smile. Rain dumps. There'll be slippery slumps, bruises, bumps, and rotten stumps. Ugh. Slug. Are you okay? I think so. Come on then, let's keep going. Breeze blowing, sunset glowing. Ooh, moon gonna smile. Run, run, wild, wild. This story is a reminder of the times when we as children ran free in nature, whether at the beach or in the forest or just in our backyard, being in nature, breathing deeply, feeling the rain, digging your toes in the dirt, or simply running to feel the wind in your hair. We experienced a spiritual grounding. The trick is to hold on to this grounding as adults. So put down your screens whenever you can and go experience the outside, even though it's hot. You'll be surprised how young you feel. And now I invite the children who are here or any youth to join Ms. Mary Lou back in the RE building. Here's Mary Lou. Thank you.
Our centering in words today are from the Reverend Wayne Arnason, a prayer for Memorial Day. Spirit of life, we enter into this season of Memorial Day surrounded by such a cloud of witnesses. We remember, first of all, that there are people who are currently serving in the armed services, and we pray for their safe return. We also acknowledge that there are people who will not and have not returned, and we grieve their passing. We also pause this hour to give thanks for all those people who have served in the nation's armed services, and those who have not served cannot fully imagine the experience of war, but we do know of war's aftermath and the toil that it can take on the human heart. This weekend remembers and acknowledges loss, and so do we remember those whom we have loved and lost. We hold their names, their faces in our mind's eye. We recall the gifts they gave us, through the strength of their being, the depth of their love, the courage of their dying, and the fullness of their living. In the holy quiet of this hour, their names surround us, and they live with us in blessed memory. May we take a time now together in silence as a tribute to all known and unknown who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. So I have to admit, growing up in the Bronx, I did not have a lot of experience with the physical wilderness. I was never a Boy Scout, either literally or figuratively. I just never could figure out how to tie all those knots. I made it about 3 weeks, and then it was a mutual agreement to not come back. Growing up, I never once camped. My idea of wilderness was going to the Bronx Zoo, which I went often, actually. Now, my wife, Jan, when I first met her, she had grown up camping like every summer with her family. And so after we dated a while, she suggested we tried camping one weekend. And being the willing suitor that I was at the time, I agreed. We procured all the proper equipment, the tent, and everything we needed for fire building, and the mandatory marshmallows, of course. And then we headed out into unknown territory somewhere in Pennsylvania, I believe. And then it started to rain. And it started to rain harder. I am talking like Noah and the flood kind of rain. And I'm thinking, okay, this must be a sign. But I hung in there. We finally made it to the campground, checked in. When I came back to the car, it was stuck in mud. And I thought, okay, I've seen this on TV. I can deal with this. So, yeah, I rocking the car back and forth to get it out of the mud. And then I tell Jan to hit the gas, and she hits the gas. And it did get out of the mud, so I was very impressed with myself. But when she hit the gas, all the mud came and caked all over my entire body. This was my first experience camping. And, so at that point, I swallowed whatever pride I had left, and we went to find a hotel that night. But I hung in there, and I came back the next day, and we put up the tent in the rain. Again, another, I felt, major accomplishment. And even more impressive, Jan cooked a meal over a fire in the rain. I thought, okay, this is a woman for me. She can cook in the rain. I am set. I will point out that I did collect the wood and chop it with an axe, and that was very exciting. Please don't ever give me an axe ever again. It's like a life and death thing doing that, when you don't have experience, I would say. But I spent the rest of the weekend communing with nature. The rain eventually stopped, and we had a wonderful time. And I'll just say, sometimes doing new things, learning new things, can be difficult and even messy sometimes. It takes us a while to figure out how things are done. Just putting up a tent for the first time was an adventure for me. Not that I looked at the instructions, of course, but, I eventually figured it out. And, we may have to, like I did going to the hotel, we may have to sometimes take a break and reflect on how things are going, or maybe what different tactics that we can use, until we figure out what works for us, right? When doing new things, we often do find a reservoir of new skills that we previously never experienced before. Now, for many years thereafter, and later on with our children, we went camping often, and things got easier over time. But it never would have happened if I hadn't first agreed to go along on the trip, and if I hadn't stuck there despite the setbacks, despite the rain, despite the mud. Sometimes we just have to stick with it and believe that it will get easier and that we can live into the future that we imagine. I often feel this way every Memorial Day. I want to, as I said earlier, remember and pay respect to those in our lives who have made the ultimate sacrifice in defending our country. Many members of my family were in the armed services. And although very fortunate, even though they were in service, they did not die, but they lived with that experience the rest of their life. And it inform their whole life experience. But I also want us to imagine what it would be like to have a world of peace where one day war is not necessary. Our sixth principle, the goal of world communion with peace, liberty, and justice for all. It seems sometimes the goal of liberty and justice gets in the way of peace and makes it seem farther off. I often feel we are stuck in the mud. We must persevere in our effort for peace. Perhaps we need some new tactics. After choosing the hymn, Peace Like a River, I kept thinking, what does that mean, peace like a river? I imagine maybe the concept of peace like a river comes from the fact that early agricultural communities were built near rivers and as a source of water for plants and crops, and the food that sustained them were created by water from the river. This is probably the genesis of that phrase in regard to, I think, of many biblical references. Psalm 36 speaks of rivers of delight. Throughout both the Jewish and Christian scriptures, there are references to the river of life. The book of Isaiah specifically uses the phrase, peace like a river. The hymn, Peace Like a River, though, comes to us as an African-American spiritual. The first three verses were written much earlier than the last three, which were added later with anonymous attribution. So what can it mean to us today to have peace like a river? In many religious traditions, the river is used as a metaphor for when we die. We cross over the river between life and death. Right, from the Greeks, it was Charon, the ferryman who carries us from the land of the living to the land of the dead via the river Styx. When I think about this aspect of the metaphor, it's interesting to think about daredevils who walk on tight ropes across rivers, or did motorcycle. Just like Evel Knievel did that one. He jumped over a river, as a way, I think in their minds, they did this as a way to transcend that river between life and death and to come out alive on the other side. These risk takers give us a metaphorical sense of what may be possible. I think of the Ganges River in India as seen as a sacred and healing river by Hindus. But even waterfalls themselves, such as the one I visited as a young man in Niagara Falls, and also I think after we were married, there's a river that leads into it, and a lake, and there's a river at the bottom, right? Rivers are not always peaceful. When I was young, I went to summer camp, which I do not consider camping because we slept in beds in bunks, so I don't really consider that camping. I mean, it was rustic, but sort of like a Buddhist monastery. It gave me a lot of practice for a Buddhist monastery. But one of the activities was canoeing down the Delaware River, and it would also include going through rapids. Now, the river can be a metaphor for life, sometimes calm and peaceful, and sometimes raging like the rapids, always flowing, always changing. As a Greek philosopher, Heraclitus said, you can never step twice in the same river. Nothing in life stays the same, right? We must savor those moments of beauty, but we must restrain ourselves from trying to lock that moment in time, for it can never last as it was. The power of the rapids, like life, can be intense and can push us in directions that we cannot stop. The best we can do sometimes is to stick the oar in the river to slow us down or to help guide us away from the most dangerous rocks. If we are going to engage with life, it will sometimes take us for a wild ride. Sometimes it will feel maybe like we're going under. We're not even sure how it's going to end, what's beyond the river bend over there, right? But with perseverance, we can, sometimes even if it is only for brief moments, we can feel truly alive, truly fulfilled in that journey, knowing that we are heading in the right direction toward our hoped-for goal, and that has to be enough sometimes. If we are lucky, we feel the magic now and then you'll hit a slow patch of river, and then you learn to appreciate the calmness in between the rapids. Perhaps the peace of the river is learning to have peace with the journey and peace with never-ending change. Some of the most peaceful times in my youth were spent watching the river flow. I lived just about a mile from the Bronx River, which was right outside the Bronx Zoo. And many days after school, starting from the age of 8, I was what is now considered a free-range child. And I would walk from my home to this little spot by the river, which was across from the zoo. And it was my place to escape to nature, or what I considered nature, in the middle of a concrete jungle. I spent many an afternoon watching the river flow. And I think by sitting by the river, we connect to our spirit by realizing we are part of the flow of life, just like the river. We also know the river flows on. It flows to a place we don't yet know, right? Perhaps the wide ocean or the waterfall, but somewhere around the bend, life continues to flow on in a way we can't see. And wherever we are in life, it allows us to see that in ourselves. Oh, we can map it out on Google. We can create a 5-year strategic plan, but we have not experienced it with our eyes or our senses, or know what pitfalls or bridges lie ahead and between us and the river's end. Our lives will continue to flow somewhere, in some way beyond where we are now. We cannot change that. It is the inevitability of time. Just as the river will sometimes be slower or faster or curving or straight, so too does our life have the uncertainty of where it is heading. So don't dam up the river so you can know where all the water is and allow you to harness it just for yourself. Let it flow. Let it flow and see where life takes you. Eons ago, it was the water that carved out through the mountains and the pathways. Now, often the land is defined by the boundaries of the river. As much as we try to keep a river contained to fit our boundaries, when it has too much, it will overflow to go where it needs to go. The corollary is the same with our lives, right? Masses of human beings over time have created a certain culture and way of being. And now we seem to want to define ourselves by certain boundaries of our environment and circumstances. But just like the river, enough people over a long period of time can carve new pathways into the river of life. When we have had too much, when things have gone too far, and we just have to overflow, and we can, with discernment and planning and effort, we can redirect our lives, and yes, we can redirect the culture of a community, of a city, of a country, of a world. And we can make it better to live into our communing with nature, our nature of justice, our nature of truth, our nature of love. And so I invite you to dig deep now and recognize that nature of generosity that flows through you as we take our offering, 100% of which will go to Emerge. For those online or here on your cell phone, there's a link on the YouTube video or the QR code in your order of service. Let this sacred time begin. Our next reading is from Ralph Waldo Emerson from his essay, Nature. Who looks upon a river in a meditative hour and is not reminded of the flux of all things? Throw a stone into the stream, and the circles that propagate themselves are the beautiful type of all influence. Humans are conscious of a universal soul within or behind our individual life, wherein, as in the firmament, the natures of justice, truth, and love, freedom arise and shine. This universal soul we call reason. It is not mine or thine, but we are its. We are its property. That which intellectually considered we call reason, considered in relation to nature, we call spirit. Spirit is the creator. Spirit has life in itself. Well, to continue now with the exegesis of our opening hymn, I move to the second verse. I've got joy like a fountain. I often don't think of fountains themselves as having joy. Certain fountains give joy, like this, a chocolate fountain at a wedding I attended gave joy to many people who love chocolate. When I think of fountains often, though, I think of Zen fountains. One I had similar to this. It gave me a sense of calm that led to reflectiveness, right? So maybe there is a joy in reflecting. We have drinking fountains, of course. The most famous fountain of one is that we all search for in vain, or some do, the fountain of youth. The thing about fountains is they just overflow. They just keep coming out, right? And then often will return to the source so it can flow out again. So let us overflow with joy. Let us drink from and with the fountain of life, the fountain of everyone's life, and the fountain of every being of existence. And let it overflow onto us. And then let us share it with others as well. Which then leads, of course, to the I've got love like an ocean. Although this is actually a picture of the bay, not the ocean, the Gulf, but it flows to the ocean. So let us have love that's expansive as an ocean, a love that is wide-ranging and inclusive. But love can be hard. It's hard to love some people. And so like the painting, The Great Wave of Kanagawa by the Japanese artist Hakusei, when you go out into deep waters, right, sometimes the waters can get rough. When we try to go deep, sometimes with others, sometimes it can get rough. When you try to change established cultures, sometimes it can get rough. Whether they be in a congregation, a system of government, or groups with different values and ideas than we do, the waves will rise and fall, right? And one must be able to ride them out, right? And stay in relationship with and keep a heart of love for all who are with us on the journey. Now, there were a couple of verses that we didn't include in hymn. I think that was my fault. The last time we did the hymn, we didn't include them, and I just, made that assumption incorrectly that we would use all of them. But there is a line that says, we have pain like an arrow. And this has always been a confusing line for me. What does that mean? I have pain like an arrow in peace like a river. And so I remembered when we had a child dedication here, I read a piece by Khalil Gibran, the prophet, from his book, The Prophet, in which he speaks of parents and children. And that helped me understand that he wrote, "For life goes not backwards nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and they bend you with their might. And their arrows may go swift and far, and let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness," end quote. So the pain like an arrow is the knowledge that the life we live, the work we do, will never be complete in our lifetime. That the river will go on long after we are here. We are both the arrow and the bow, and it has to be enough. We need to let go of the pain of uncertainty and live our life in the present moment with our eye on the path to the infinite, and trust that the future that we have set forth will continue with the next generations. The pain, that pain like an arrow, can lead to another verse we didn't sing, tears like raindrops. Raindrops that fill up the river. As the Buddha said, all of life is suffering. And although there is a way out of suffering, suffering cannot be avoided. People die, leave us, betray us, come up short. It is our yearning, our striving as well, that is all part of the journey of life that can lead to suffering. The river is filled up not just with ecstatic moments of joy and peace on the journey, but also tears. And that is why we need to have strength like a mountain. Something lasting, something strong that over time can stand the test of time, right? Something that we can hold on to in times that test us. That mountain is our commitment to this free religious tradition that, although it may change over time, is always here for us to explore our religious and spiritual beliefs, and is here to bring us together and to learn how to create beloved community. Although the journey to the top and may be long and arduous, let our eyes rise to the apex. Let our hopes always rise. Let our love always rise. Let us remember as we walk in the world to walk gently and with kindness. We don't know what even our small kindnesses and sacrifices will lead to around the river bend. You know, I can always remember small kindnesses that people did for me throughout my entire life. We don't always recognize it, and we often may not even know these small kindnesses, how much they impact other people. So we will keep going beyond. It's all beyond our view in some distant future, a future where we can lay down our swords and we will study war no more. May it be so. I invite you to rise in body and or spirit for our closing hymn, number 162. I'm going to lay down my sword and shield.
Study war no more. Lay down the bills down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my sword and blade. Down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. Sing around the world, down by the river I go. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, gonna lay down. Study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more, ain't gonna study war no more, ain't study war no more.
Our closing words are from Mary Oliver. From this river, when I was a child, I used to drink. But when I came back, I found that the body of the river was dying. Did it speak? Yes. It sang out the old songs, but faintly. What will you do? I will grieve, of course, but that's nothing. What precisely will you grieve for? For the river, for myself, my lost joyfulness, for the children who will not know what a river can be, a friend, a companion, a hint of heaven. Isn't that somewhat overplayed? I said it can be a friend, a companion, a hint of heaven. Please join me now in extinguishing the chalice with our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you all for your presence here today. Go forth, get a flower, be happy, do good.